This is that Pachita thing we went over.
Which
Do you
was
remember
very
that?
good, yes. Yeah,
Ken and Sandy Vietor make a great team. They always have. But these days, the way they work together is changing. Last year, Ken was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease.
Ken knows he wants a cheeseburger, but when the waitress asks him what he wants, he can't tell her he wants a cheeseburger.
It's an unexpected twist in the future the Vietors had planned when they got together more than 35 years ago.
Our first date was April 26th, and we bought my diamond Memorial Day weekend, so that was pretty quick.
Quick, because it didn't take long for Sandy to figure out what made her future husband so special.
People talk about how a guy treats his mother, and when we were dating, Ken had to go home every night at about 9:30 because he had to stop and get tacos, and he had to be home to watch Johnny Carson with his mother.
Once married, Ken embarked on what would become a very successful career.
Well, Ken is a salesman. Some people don't know that about him. He's most recently been a banker, but way back to the days I met him, he was the top salesman in the nation for his window and door company, which was Rusco at the time.
Quite a feat at the age of just 23 years old. Ken went into business with his parents, found more success, as did Sandy in her job. Then they decided to have a baby.
Got to a point in our life where we just thought that maybe that would be something interesting to tackle, and gosh, we did. So at a later age, we'd been married 12 and a half years before we had Cole.
An active boy who kept Ken and Sandy busy with sports and other outings. In the meantime, Ken was finding success in his second career, banking, first with Wells Fargo and then Core Trust Bank.
He always talked very lovingly, if you will. It sounds kind of corny, but lovingly of his customer relationships. His customers are his friends.
Among those customers, Tim and Mary Braithwaite.
I was introduced to Ken, 20 years ago.
And what started as a professional relationship soon became much more personal.
And many of the times that we met at the bank, the banking things took just a few minutes, but yet we'd sit there for a half hour or 45 minutes just talking about families and talking about the relationship.
Building those relationships is what Ken loved about his job. He excelled at it. But at work is where the first signs of Ken's disease began to show.
I didn't know what was happening. There were things that I couldn't do that I've done my whole life, so I just tried to do the best I could.
He's putting on his tie to go to work, and all of a sudden he's frustrated with his tie. Can't tie his tie. And he would say, I can't tie my tie. And then he'd say, there's so many things I just can't do anymore. I don't understand it. I don't know what's wrong.
The most telling moment for Ken and Sandy came in the spring of 2015 when they were visiting their son Cole in Los Angeles. It had been 5 months since their last visit.
We weren't with Cole very long, and he came up to me and he said, Mom, what's wrong with Dad? What's wrong with Dad? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, what's wrong with him? He's different. There's something he can't look at, he can't do. And Ken was trying to do a simple thing, and he said, look at that, he can't even make that work.
Soon afterwards, Ken received the official diagnosis. He had Alzheimer's disease. The realization began to set in. Things were going to change.
Ken came to me one day at work, and he had our checkbook in his hand, and he's a banker. He's taken care of everything our whole life, everything. Not only finances, but everything else. I never had to think about anything, and he said, I gotta give you the checkbook. I can't do this anymore. I don't know.
Ken's illness would force him to leave his job. But first, he shared the news with his dearest customers.
The news was absolutely devastating.
But friends like Tim and Mary, the Vietors family, their employers, so many showed their support. And so, says Sandy, did the staff at the Alzheimer's Association.
And I walked in, and immediately the people there put their arms around me. They had information, they had hugs, they had resources, they were glad to see me.
The Vietors know the Alzheimer's Association will be there for them, just like those customers who were the primary focus of Ken's 30 years in banking.
I'm not grateful that he's dealing with it, but I'm grateful that I get to be there with him and travel that road with him as well.
As a result of Ken's diagnosis, both Ken and Sandy have stepped away from the careers they loved. But now there's a new focus.
Everybody's got a plan. Well, all of a sudden our plan had a wrench in it. And we decided to hopefully face that head on, take it positively, and say we're gonna go do the things we wanted to do that we had planned.
Ken and Sandy will face this disease together, as a team, just as they've faced everything else, with Ken's go-get-'em attitude leading the way.
All my life, I've just kind of given it hell, and that's kind of how I'm going to keep doing it.